An article titled From Grief to Giggles is always going to attract my attention. Comedian Aoife Dunn from Kinvara in Galway performs a show called Good Grief, which blends comedy, poetry and authenticity. Aoife is quoted as saying that life isn't just funny and it isn't just tragic, it's both. I wanted to make a show that lets all of that breathe. Aoife describes the impact of the unexpected death of her mother, Maria, when Aoife was 23 years of age. Aoife describes how in a deep meditative session, as part of a healing process, how she was guided to return to an early childhood memory. She recalled a moment when she was 5, and her spiritual guide encouraged her to go to that child and ask herself, what do you tell her about who you've become? Aoife pauses. Do I tell her that I hate myself? And then I thought, no, I wanted to tell her that we became an actress. And in that moment, I just thought, oh my God, I'm going to change my life. I'm going to make her proud. Aoife also describes a profound psychedelic experience with ayahuasca in Brazil when she was 35. I saw my whole life, every tiny moment, teaching, helping my brothers, laughing with friends. Every second I thought had been a failure, I saw it all. And I fell to the ground and I said, I love my life. That was the first time I truly meant it. For those not familiar with ayahuasca, it's a plant-based brew that originates from the Amazon forest, traditionally used by indigenous people for spiritual and healing purposes. An ayahuasca retreat is a structured, often multi-day program under the guidance of trained shamans or facilitators. Our first reading this weekend from the book of Genesis tells the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities were so corrupt, so cruel, so indifferent to the suffering of others, that they became symbols of total collapse. Abraham, on hearing that the cities are to be destroyed, boldly asks God a question that still echoes today. Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? He's not defending Sodom's crimes. He's pleading for the innocent caught in the fire. It's not about sexual sin or divine wrath. Reading the story closely, it becomes clear that the real crime of Sodom was its violence, its arrogance, its cruelty to the vulnerable. As Ezekiel says, they were arrogant, overfed, and unconcerned. They did not help the poor and needy. Sound familiar? As we watch entire neighborhoods in Palestine in ruins, hospitals turned into rubble, children buried under collapsed homes, as the world watches, divided, often indifferent, how are we allowing it to continue? The innocent suffering, while the powerful play games with lives. Sodom was destroyed because it became a place where empathy died, where hospitality, the most sacred value in ancient cultures, was violated. The story of Sodom and Gomorrah is a test of collective conscience. Our gospel passage from Luke is focused on persistence in prayer. For spiritual writers like Richard Rohr, prayer is not reserved for monasteries, but is a universal invitation, a way of seeing that can transform both the individual and society. He argues that the contemplative mind is the most absolute assault on the secular mind. because it really is a different mind, a different source of energy, a different software. Rohr asserts, prayer is not about changing God, but being willing to let God change us. Prayer is contemplative seeing. It is sitting in the silence until it silences us, choosing gratitude until we are grateful, and praising God until we ourselves are an act of praise. Theologian Lisa Davison writes about Abraham's audacious prayer and declares that his prayer isn't rebellion, it's a covenantal trust born of relationship. For us today, this balance suggests that praying courageously for our world is not presumption, but trust in God's faithful nature. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Herschel once provocatively asked, if the prophets, such as Abraham, can question God, how much more do we have a sacred imperative to challenge and dissent against human authorities when they perpetrate injustice? The hunger displayed by disciples in asking Jesus how to pray is a hunger that it prevails, it seems, in every generation. These disciples were faithful Jews who had grown up with many prayers, yet they sensed something different in the way Jesus prayed. His prayer wasn't mere ritual, it was relationship, it was life-giving. They wanted the same closeness with God. After her mom's death, Aoife became the adult in a house of grieving teenagers. Aoife found support, not from within, but from around. Her mom's friends started a fund to help her brothers through college, and there were helpful state supports. Aoife rails against how increasingly isolated and individualistic Irish society has become. Aoife is immersed in supporting Palestine. She credits her mother for the capacity to hold people tenderly, even when they lash out. Aoife says Mum never judged anyone at face value. She'd always ask, what's underneath that? Our weekend scriptures help us to understand prayer as a contemplative gaze at the world, leading to audacious dialogue with God and humanity. Prayer drives us to create hospitable communities where empathy and justice flourish. We are encouraged to persistently pray the Our Father so that we may hold others tenderly. Amen.